it's me, Sai V2, and today we're going to be doing a comparison video on the new version of Sai that just came out versus the old version, which is Sai version 1 versus Sai version 2. So let's just get started. Right now you're seeing Sai version 1 is what I usually use for my drawings and stuff like that, like digital art. Let's pull up Sai version 2, and so Sai version 2 has a little bit of different interface, and we're going to be talking about the new things they added and what they removed and so on and so forth. So in Sai version 2 they have more locking options, as you see right here, compared to Sai 1, which is only right here. They really only have 3 locking options in Sai 1 versus Sai 2. Another thing Sai 2 has added is that they have added layer modes. So the mode here is normal, but as you can see, there's a lot more than the original Sai version 1, as Sai version 1 only has this many, whereas Sai version 2 has this many. Another thing that comes up to mind when I mention this is that they did change the names, so the lumosity on Sai version 2 is different from the lumosity on Sai version 1. In Sai version 1, as I pulled up this Amy image here, it's Lumi and Shade for these layers and then lumosity for these layers. But as I imported it to Sai version 2, the names changed from Lumi and Shade to Shade and Shine, and it also changed lumosity to Shine, as it did not change the layer Shade though, so I'm assuming that the term Shade in Sai 2 is the same term as in Sai 1. So they added also perspective layers. They added the 1V, 2V, and 3P perspective rulers, and then they've also added 2V and 3VP perspective grids. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically just helping people with perspective and so on and so forth. They're basically grids that you can edit and move, and it's really good for drawing backgrounds and stuff, so I highly recommend using these. Also, one thing has changed on the area right here where it says layer effect and layer paper. That's not the same on Sai version 1, it's texture and effect. And also they changed the area of effect, so where it says layer effect, it was usually like down here, but now it's up here, and then layer paper is just texture of the layer. Moving on to the tool panel, which is over here, and just so you guys know, yes, this is over here because I moved it over here. It is default to over here, so just so you guys know, I actually manually moved it over here in my settings because I prefer it that way. So if yours looks a little bit different, don't panic, you can always change it. First thing is, they got rid of the scratch pad on me here, so up here, they got rid of the scratch pad because I'm guessing no one really used the scratch pad that much. Also, another thing is that they added the area to scroll, so if you did want all of these on here and you want everything to be shown, you can actually scroll down the side instead of having to manually get rid of them. And that's one thing that I absolutely love about this new update, is that there's the scroll, because I was angrily having to undo everything that I was doing every time I'd wanted to change the brush size, which was at the bottom. And you couldn't really move where it was in the first one. For example, if I were to go to the Sai 1 and I enabled everything on here, I couldn't scroll down the side to get to where my size brushes are. So I'd have to get rid of everything on here, and then I would be able to use it. Another thing that they've added more tools to the new user interface. So they added the shape tool, and they also added the text tool, but they also have a shape tool which will make it easier for you to draw like shapes and stuff like that, kind of like in Paint. So they added a new gradient tool, and the gradient tool is really fun because it's just a gradient and it's really nice to use, especially for people who use gradients like all the time in their art and had trouble making a gradient in Sai in the original because there is no gradient tool, and this is a lot easier. That way you don't have to use Photoshop to get that gradient look that you're looking for. Also, they added more brush customization. When I was scrolling down, I don't know if you guys saw, but all this customization is now applicable to your brushes. So they changed the pressure sensitivity, and you can actually change that on your specific brush. And they also made the stabilizer right here, whereas in Sai 1, if you wanted to change the stabilizer for a specific pen, you'd have to go into the options of that and change it right here, whereas pressure stabilizer is right here and stroke stabilizer is right here. And they changed the pressure stabilizer to a slider. That way it's easier and to see and understand if you're a newcomer and are new to Sai. They also added intensity and scale, as well as scratch to texture, and that's a little bit different from the original Sai, where you just had this one little slider right here. Another thing you might have noticed in the new Paint Tool Sai, on the bottom here it says memory usage and drive space, while on the first one it really only had like percents and MB, and it's like really hard to understand on what is going on, like what's memory load, I don't understand. Whereas in the new one it says memory usage, which is the memory usage on your computer, and drive space, which is the space on your drive. So it's very, very self-explanatory on the bottom on how much space you actually have and how much computer usage you're actually having. Alright, now we're going to the options up here, and they have a wide range as well. They've actually added a ruler here, which is what you can use to draw straight lines and circles. For filters, they actually added more to the filters. They didn't add that much, but usually in hue and saturation and brightness contrast is what they had in the original, which was up here. When you just go to filter, it's just hue and brightness. Whereas if you were to go into the new Sai and you go to filter, there's also a blur that you can do, and that's just adding a blur effect to whatever layer is selected. Another thing that they added is in view, there's a floating view, and they added it to where, you know how in Sai when you could pop out the window and then you can have like several references and you're working on one, they actually changed that to where instead of having a pop out and having all the other ones be pop outs, for example, if I was to open up another image, it would also be pop out, and when I would fill it up, it'd fill up the entire space. Whereas if I was in Sai 2, I could have a pop out right here and still work on my main piece. So as like Photoshop, they can separate panels, and I didn't know that I could do this until recently. I accidentally did it. And so what you can do is you can separate user interface panel in the window, and you can just pop out different things from your... So HSV and HSL mode location has changed. So usually it would be like right up here, as well as in Sai it would be right here, and it would... You can't really see it because I have double monitors, but it's V, HSV, HSL, and HSV. And that is also changed in location. So if you use that a lot for some reason, it's going to be in window, and it's going to be right here. Also, another thing that they did that really like messed with my mind when I was doing this is that they did change a few of the hotkeys, and if you want it to be back to like in Sai 1, you're gonna have to manually change them to what you use very often. Also, they do have a option in the options menu for a lot of things, so it's really interesting. If you read all of these, they added a lot. I'm not going to go into each specific one on what they do, but if you get it, feel free to mess around with it and do it yourself. Alright, so as we make a new canvas, there has been something changed a little bit. As you can see, the name for resolution has changed to printing resolution, which basically means if you wanted to print this, it's a lot easier to understand, and it's also easier to understand it this way as too, and the presets is a lot more visible. They also changed the background here, so the default is set to white, which is normally what people do, but when you save it, it doesn't have that option to make it transparent or not, and so what you want to do is when you start out the canvas, you want to make it manually transparent, so that way when you make a background, it's going to be transparent no matter what you do. So one thing that they added to save something as is they added Photoshop PSB instead of PSD. So if you wanted to change it from PSB to PSD or so on and so forth, they added that. And they also have Sai version 2, obviously. But they do not have the option to save as a Sai 1 file. So it's going to manually save as a Sai 2. And if you wanted to open this up in Sai 1 for some reason, it would not work. But if you do start it in Sai 1 and save it as a Sai 1 file in Sai 1, like if you draw a picture in Sai 1 and then save it, and you want to import it into Sai 2, it will work. It just won't work the other way around. So that's all the changes that I've noticed in the new Sai version, and I hope this helped if you guys wanted to transfer over to Sai 2. So I hope you guys learned from this. I hope it helped in some way, and if you had any problems with anything, again, if anyone wants me to go into detail on what specific things I said, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. So for that, thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.